Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm still fixing my hair. Welcome to my first ever YouTube live. So excited to be here. I'm also doing Instagram, so I'm going to start Instagram. Hello, Instagram. All right, we are officially streaming or live on YouTube and Instagram for the Sam Tour Q&A. I was running around today, so I feel like I look a little bit crazy, but it's fine. We're gonna make it work. So as everyone joins, I'm going to do a quick intro. If you're here, you might already know me. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. My name is Sam Labreck. I am an actor, a comedian, a writer, a director, a creator. I've done a lot of things for a long time. And so today, we're going to be talking about the Sam tour that I just went on. And Sam is my existential comedy solo musical that I debuted at the Hollywood Fringe Festival last year. I'm located in Los Angeles, so I'm currently in Hollywood. I am born and raised in LA. I'm from here. So doing the show at Fringe was really exciting because it was my re-entry into LA theater actually in 2024. I hadn't done, hi guys, thanks for joining. And if you have any questions or any chat, or anything to say, the chat is live on Instagram and here on YouTube. So I love seeing your comments. Any questions you have, you can use the questions box on Instagram, or you can use the chat box here on YouTube. So yes, doing my show at Hollywood Fringe last year, that was kind of my re-entry into the LA theater scene after doing theater for a long time before the pandemic, but I made a big decision to step away from theater. And that was when I, of course, made my short film Trying, which if you're on YouTube, you know Trying. I'm sure on Instagram we do too, which changed my life because I learned that I have ADHD and it was my first time writing something. And then it went viral on YouTube in 2024 also. So last year was a really exciting year, honestly, for projects kind of being seen by the public for the first time. Like that was kind of the first time where, I was meeting people who found my work online, who then followed me because they saw something that they liked in Trying or on Sam, and just kind of getting more of a bigger, I would say, stage and bigger audience for my projects. So that was last year. And then that's when I decided to tour Sam. So then in 2025, I took Sam on a national tour. I went from San Francisco to Chicago to New York City and then back to Los Angeles. And now I'm figuring out what the next stages is for Sam. I was saying that was it after the Sam tour, but once I did the Los Angeles shows, they were so fun. I was like, maybe I'm not done. So I'm really excited to see what's next. So that's a little bit about me. And honestly, with this Q&A, I just wanted to share more about the process because, this was not my first project that I've self-produced, but I did learn a lot of new things by doing Sam and by specifically touring too. Like producing your own show, that's its own beast. And then to take it to other cities, that's like a whole new ballgame. So a question that I get a lot is, like, how did you make the Sam tour happen? Like, a lot of people, haven't traveled to other states or countries, let alone traveled in other states or countries. And as an actor, I had performed before in Anchorage, Alaska, in The Sound of Music years ago. And then I also did a production in Northern California as an actor of The Fantastics, which is actually this show right back here, The Fantastics. But producing in other states was crazy, and marketing in other states was crazy. So honestly, I might start there. Like, if you guys want to hear about that, I know I definitely have people who have asked, how to tour their show. Like, what was it like, booking venues that you had never been to before. Like, how did I get audience members to come and see the show? So I'll start there and then kind of see where the session takes us. So yeah, if you have any questions, welcome everyone who is here. Hi, Kiva. So good to see you. Hi, Les. So excited. Hi to everyone on YouTube. So yes, please. I mean, if you're here and you want to say where you're from, and maybe if you know me from Sam or you know me from Trying or something else, I would love to hear. If you want to leave a little comment wherever you're at, that would be awesome. And then any questions you have, just drop them as we go. It's going to be super free flowing, whatever kind of comes up. I'll just follow my little heart, and whatever you want to hear about, I'll share about it. So yes. So, okay. I think the biggest thing I was really scared about with doing the SAM tour was, performing in places, not just that I haven't performed in before, but where I had never been before. So Chicago was like, hi, Kiva from Brooklyn. Yes, birthday tomorrow. I love it. Happy early birthday. Happy Virgo season, everybody. I'm a Virgo rising, very happy to be here. So yeah, I had never been to Chicago before. And so doing SAM in Chicago was probably the scariest part of the SAM tour, honestly, because I had been to San Francisco before and I had friends who were going to be there and come see the show. And New York, New York is like a second home to me. I have never performed in New York, but I spent a lot of time there and I have a lot of performer friends there. So I knew that there were at least going to be some people in the audience. But Chicago was the wild card city. So the way that I chose the theaters that I wanted to perform SAM at was, honestly, it was very specific to me and my goals for this project. So something I've been thinking a lot about with how I made the SAM tour and like how I want to kind of share my experience with all of you is like, in life, we're all so different. I've learned, like, through making SAM and through, of course, making Trying, like, learning how I work and learning what I want to do and how I show up in the world, like, those inform how I take the next steps in my life and in my projects. So I've been thinking about that, where I'm like, okay, I have ADHD. Like, that's going to look different from someone who has autism or for someone who is neurotypical. So like, for me, in creating these projects, like, having a set deadline was very helpful for me to get them done, because it gave me a sense of urgency, and that made me feel motivated to get things done, And something else that I've also learned about myself is that as a recovering people pleaser, when there are other people involved in aspects of the project, I'm more likely to get things done, like, faster or maybe a little more detail oriented or things like that, which I think is it's something very interesting, because I was mostly working solo on this project. So there were times where, I was like, I probably could have finished this a little bit earlier to give myself a little bit more breathing room. Like, for example, I was making changes to the script throughout the entire tour, and I would make changes like right before I went on stage. If there were other people in the cast, you wouldn't do that. But because I was like solo, I was able to do that and kind of leave things to last minute, which was not always like to the benefit of the project, but it's just the way things manifested for me. So booking venues in the other states was crazy. And I wanted to do SAM at improv venues because the show is a comedy. It has improvised elements. Kiva, you get it with the set deadline. So that was a huge jumping off point for me to get really specific about where I wanted to put SAM up in these different states. So that was really helpful, obviously, in giving me guidelines like, okay, well, I know I want to be in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and LA. So I need to find improv theaters in all of these cities. And performing at improv theaters, a lot of them are also connected to schools. So I chose these improv venues because they had a built-in community already attached to them, which meant as a solo artist, it was maybe going to be a little bit easier for me to access audience members who would be genuinely interested in, what I'm doing and what I'm sharing, with comedy and young performers and actors and all of that. So that was, that obviously narrowed things down with figuring out where I wanted to perform Sam at. And so the final venues that I performed at: Endgame's Improv in San Francisco, IO Chicago, which is very famous. Chicago is known for its improv scene. And then UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade in New York, which famously has trained many SNL cast members and does a lot of comedy and musicals and things. And then here in LA, I did it at an alt comedy theater called Lyric Hyperion here. So kind of same vibe. So that's how I picked those venues. But I will say, you guys, like, not all the venues I reached out to said yes. And that's something that I wanted to make sure I shared today, because I realize on the outside, it can look like, this tour was flawless, seamless, successful, beautiful. But there were, of course, a lot of challenges that happened and that came along with it, which included there were venues that said yes to Sam, and then last minute they pulled the dates from the Sam tour, which is crazy. But of course, I did not share any dates until contracts were, signed and were official and everything was done. So that was why I think I announced dates about a month before the tour happened. And that was like the earliest I could share those dates, because things were changing so rapidly and so like intensely. It was very intense. Like when that theater dropped out, I was like crying. And essentially what happened was there was just like a miscommunication about like dates and like me being a solo show, and like, and it's all fine. It all worked out in the end. I'm very happy with the venues that I did work with. But something that I think was really of benefit for me, honestly, was putting myself out there in lots of avenues and lots of ways, and having lots of options available, like in general. So when I was looking for venues, I wasn't, putting all my eggs in one basket. I was really like exploring all of the ways the Sam tour could look. I was looking at theaters that weren't just improv theaters or comedy venues, and kind of keeping that like open mindset about things was really helpful to have kind of like plans A's, B's, and C's. Even though I will say most of the tour, I got my plan A's, like it all worked out. But kind of being flexible, being open, and seeing what happens, that was really helpful for me. So yes, okay, if you have any other questions, drop in the chat. I have a couple of questions that I got from Instagram already, so I'm going to go through those. But thank you to everyone who's joined. Hi, Zanetta, welcome. And everyone on YouTube, hi guys, thank you so much. I'm not sure if I can see names on YouTube. I don't think so. So if you want to say hi in the chat, you're welcome to. But let's see. Oh, okay. So I did get some questions about funding and grants and how I made, the financial aspect of the Sam tour happen. And I think the easiest way to share about it is just that I tried to apply for grants, and I did apply for grants, and I actually set the tour dates like after when the grants would have been received. So like the timing of the tour ended up being kind of reliant on waiting for these grants to come through, and I didn't get the grants. And I went out for the Jonathan Larson grant was one grant that I went out for, which I realized I actually was not 100% eligible for, because I only wrote one whole original song in Sam. The rest of the songs are parody songs. So that grant specifically is for songwriters and composers who are writing original works. Jonathan Larson, of course, wrote Rent, famous, beautiful music of Rent. And so that was something where I felt kind of silly. Like I was like, did I really just plan or wait to plan the dates for this tour based on this grant that I ended up not getting? So anyway, I guess I share that because you really never know what's going to happen. So I honestly don't have a ton of advice about funding and grants other than look to your skills, look to your communities, look to the things that honestly will the the things that come the easiest to you, or like the resources that you have the closest to you, like start there, you know? Like if you're someone who would be really good at writing grants, like it took me about 2 weeks to write my grant for the Jonathan Larson grant, and that was like really tough. Hi, Hein. Please tell me if I'm saying that correctly. You saw me at SF. Oh my gosh, so happy to see you. Thank you for coming. Oh, and being here. I'm so happy. The SF show was so much fun. It's so great to have you here. Yay. Thank you all for being here. This is so much fun. So with that, grant. Okay, yes. If you think you could be good at grant writing, then like, yes, write a grant. If you are someone who can put on like a fundraiser benefit show in your hometown, like in your backyard to raise money, like do that. I ended up doing crowdfunding, of course, was how I ended up raising money for the tour. And it was my second time crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is not for the weak. I will say you do need a network, like some kind of existing network community of people. It's also helpful if you have a community that has a wide range of demographics, meaning like ages, classes, like different financial classes, is that right? Social classes. All of that, who can all come together and like help get you what you need. By the end of the SAM tour, I was able to pay for the tour from crowdfunding and from single donations from community members. So that was how I did it. Thank God. And thank you again to everyone who was on the SAM tour Seed and Spark and helped to make it happen. So yay! Okay. And then I talked about the other state venues. Someone asked, okay, my favorite part of the SAM tour. Good question. Let's see. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that Chicago was the like wild card city for the tour. I had never been there before. I had some friends of friends and some like mutual friends who came and saw the show in Chicago. But I really didn't know what was going to happen in that city. I was taking vlogs throughout the whole process, so I'll be sharing those at some point. But I literally have a vlog of myself right before I went on stage, like not crying, but like I was like stressed because I was like, I have no idea if anyone is going to be here or be at this show. I had been posting on social media constantly every day, like messaging people, reaching out to people. Be like, if you have any friends in Chicago, or like, please share with your family, like something. Because I had also been, producing and writing and, doing everything at the same time. So having to also market in other cities and sell tickets was very, very difficult. So I did use social media as my main avenue for marketing. And so by the time, the show came, I was like, I had to kind of release it and be like, okay, like I've spent all the energy and time I can, like on trying to get as many people as I can to the show. So I'm just going to release it. Like it's in God's hands, as they say, in the theater, God's hands, we can also say. And yeah, so my little vlog was literally like, I don't know who's out there. We'll see what happens. Like, here we go. And then our beautiful tech person, Katie, she came back and she was like, people are here. They're really excited. It's going to be great. And I was like, oh my God. And I come out, I make my entrance, Sam, and I come out and woo, everyone starts clapping and cheering. And it was like my whole body, like, it was like such a relief. I honestly couldn't believe that like there were actually people in the audience. It was a mix of people who had seen my show just on the website, I had some in-town New Yorkers in Chicago who were like, musical, we're there, Broadway, let's do it. So that was really fun. And then I had some of my friends in LA, some of their family was like in Chicago. They came out and saw the show. Like friends of friends came and saw the show who were like also theater lovers. So anyway, meeting everyone in Chicago and getting to know everyone who was at the venue too. I had a lot of students and employees who were all improvisers at IO Chicago come and see the show. And they really took to it and really loved it. And I think a lot of people had never seen anything like Sam before. So they were really excited about it and felt very like seen by it. And that was like a big gift. So honestly, that was probably my favorite part. Like from the SAM tour. That was unexpected, I'll say. Like, that was totally unexpected. I think too, like, kind of in a similar vein, the SF show, Hein, who was at the SF show, doing the SF show and having it all work and have the tech work that I have been like just working so hard on for months and months, like literally months. And that script and everything for it all to work out was just like the greatest gift I could have received. And like, I was in a really small venue in San Francisco, which something that I also learned on the SAM tour was like, the venue size that you perform your show in really matters. When I did my show at Fringe, it was in a 30-seat theater and we sold out every performance. We did 9 performances and like it was electric in there because it was so small, so tight. Like I was right there, like 6 feet away from it, like max, like most of the time I was like 2 or 3 feet away from people in the audience. And I found like that was so much fun being so close with everybody. And San Francisco was the same vibe. Like it was a 40-seat theater. It was a little black box, like very mom and pop vibe. It was very small, very like intimate. And like that was like such a joy doing that show at that venue and in that way. You're so badass. Oh my God, thank you. The show is so fun. The show is so fun. It really stretched me in a lot of ways as a performer too. Like in San Francisco and Chicago, and I'll get to New York next, but in San Francisco and Chicago, I was doing an improvised song in that version of the show. And I was really nervous for that because I had never done musical improv before, but I was like, let me just try it and like see what happens. Like, let's just, you know, throw caution to the wind. I like kind of being on my toes and feeling alive and, you know, not sure what's going to happen next. So I literally did a fully improvised song in the middle of the show. If you've seen the show, I do an improvised monologue in the show and I do like a mini improvised dance sequence. But doing the improvised songs in those cities was really exhilarating because I never knew what was going to happen. And then by the time I got to New York, I had a couple of days to look at the script because the way the tour dates, you know, worked out, I had more time leading up to the New York show than I did like for San Francisco or Chicago. So in San Francisco and Chicago, I had to show up, rehearse, and go. New York, I had a couple of days to fine tune, and that became dangerous. So I did. In New York, I actually put in a new song that I had originally cut from the show called Am I a Lesbian? If you were in New York, you saw it. If you've seen any other version of the show, I sing, you know, a little snippet of something like that. But this was a full song that I had written that Max Berlin, who did the piano tracks for the tour, he had created a full music track for it. But leading up to the tour, I decided that it wasn't fitting anymore. It just wasn't right. So I didn't do it in San Francisco and I didn't do it in Chicago. By the time I got to New York, I was like, we put so much work into this song. I think I have to do it. I think I have to perform it. And so I did. So that was like my first time doing that song full out with all the tech. There's a lot of lighting in the show. And I cut the improvised song from the New York performance. And it was so fascinating, honestly, to feel how different like the show was with different changes that I made to it per city. Because also in Los Angeles, I had a completely different beginning and ending to the show than I did in San Francisco, Chicago, and New York. So in the New York show, okay, let's talk about New York. I feel like I haven't talked about New York yet. So being in New York City was like a dream come true. Like I am a theater kid. I grew up doing theater. I've done theater the longest. I've been an actor the longest. And so being in New York at UCB, like in like like literally a couple blocks from Broadway, doing my solo show that I like wrote, performed. It's like about myself. Like it was such a surreal experience. Like I still feel like it's like 2 months later, I'm still processing it all, like honestly. And in New York, it was also the biggest theater that I performed Sam in. So in San Francisco, I performed in a 40 seat. And then in Chicago, I was in like an 85 seat. And then in New York, I was in a 150 seat theater. And you guys, like I mentioned earlier, venue size is so important. So in New York, I'm one person on it was a huge stage, closest audience member to me is probably like 15 feet, 12 to 15 feet away, I would say. Okay. And so performing that show in this huge theater made it a completely different experience. And so I feel like in New York, the show was definitely more like, I mean, presentational, like feels like it was still me, but I think the way that the theater was set up, it was just very much like I was the performer on stage and the audience was in the audience watching the show happen. And if you've seen, which is very traditional theater format, and of course I'm in a theater town, so that actually makes a lot of sense. And the show was fabulous and great. However, if you've seen Sam, I do like playing and I do like having a little like, like what's going to happen next. And like, if an audience member does something, I'll respond to it. Like, it's a very like alive, like the fourth wall is broken. That's honestly the biggest thing. The fourth wall in Sam, it actually like goes in and out. It sometimes exists. A lot of the time it doesn't exist. And so I think in New York, the way that I had set up the show in New York, the opening of the show made it very much, there's a fourth wall and you're watching a story unfold. And so that's a very different energy rather than in LA, for example. I made changes to the opening and made sure that it was a very like the like fourth wall was broken like right from the top of the show, so that you knew that this was in a like open, like kind of immersive, like inclusive experience we were all having together, which creates a completely different energy. So doing the New York show helped me understand that. And like, I learned so much as a director of how to set the tone for a performance and do it in a way where there's no chance that it won't work out the way that you want it to, like there were a lot of things that I learned like that about, like maybe having like an opening act, like stand-up comedians do, or musicians do, or, having a pre-show announcement that says, make sure you're, like giving improv suggestions or, whatever. Or maybe I like greet people at the door. Like that's kind of common for clowning shows. And I found with making Sam and doing the Sam tour, like in looking back, like I've definitely taken inspiration from stand-up comedians and improvisers, of course, and musicians and clowns and like performers in different mediums, because as an actor who comes from traditional theater, like it's very, like the kind of default in a show is there's a fourth wall, I'm a performer on stage, and the audience is watching. And so learning all of these different techniques to kind of help like literally set the stage for the show, it has helped me like learn so much as a performer, as a writer, as a director. And honestly, I think making the changes that I did throughout the Sam tour, like, and ending in Los Angeles, which was like such an electric show where I feel like everything really came together and there was no question of like what was going to happen or the outcome. Like it was like, it felt very like airtight. That's when I was like, oh, maybe I want to keep doing the show more after the Sam tour, because originally I was like, I think this is going to be it. Like, I'm going to do the Sam tour. I'll end in LA, end with a bang. And then that's that. But because I had exercised all of these different things and performed in all of these different venues for so many different kinds of audiences too, like the general public, performers, people who know what improv or Hollywood lore is, people who don't, to then create a show that is actually like representative of everything that I want it to be and really creating an experience for everyone that I want it to feel like, which is that like alive, playful, like fun, silly energy. So that was really exciting. And ironically, like it ended up kind of being like very similar, if not almost identical to the original Fringe version that I did at the Hollywood Fringe Festival in 2024, which was so crazy. So like that's something I've thought about too, where I had, a full year between performing the show at the Hollywood Fringe Festival and performing it on tour. And so because I had all this time in my hands, I was like, let me tweak the script. Let me try things out. Like as a writer, I had a lot of things that I wanted to explore. And then as a performer, there were a lot of things that I wanted to try to see if I could even do it, to see what was even possible. So but because of that, at the end of the day, the changes that I made weren't actually conducive to the kind of show I was wanting to present and the kind of experience that me and the audience, the experience that I wanted me and the audience to have. So that was honestly fascinating for me to learn all of these things. And like, I do want to say, if you're a performer or if you're a stand-up comedian or anything, like I filmed every single performance of this show, like almost every performance I've ever done of it. And so I've actually watched back all of these performances, and that's how I was able to see these things and make these changes and go, oh, that actually didn't land like I wanted it to. And I know a lot of people, like, it's really hard to watch yourself and like go back and like oh, I look weird, I sound weird, but it's so important, especially because I was self-directing. I definitely had to like be brave and like take those steps to like because I want to like grow and learn. So doing that, that's how I was able to see these differences and these changes, and then realize like what I actually wanted to do, like what was the actual like best version of the show. So, okay, I have a couple of questions that have come through on both Instagram and YouTube. I'll start here on YouTube with Hein. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Okay. You said you would love to know my next personal goals for continuing Sam. Amazing. Yes, I would love to share about that. You inspired me to do my own solo show in SF next year or 2027. Any tips? Oh my gosh, that's making me cry. That's making me cry, Hein. I'm so happy to hear that. That's been probably one, if not the most fulfilling thing of doing Sam, has been inspiring others to create their own projects. So I'm so happy to hear this. Okay, any tips? You have an improv sketch comedy background in Austin. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question, and I'm going to take a sip, and we're all going to take a breath because I know I've been talking so fast, nonstop. Okay, and then Kiva, I see your question on Instagram. I'm going to answer that as well. Perfect. Okay. Let's start with you, Hein. This is so sweet. Oh, I'm so excited, guys. I'm so happy to have you here. This is so great. Okay, so my next personal goals for continuing Sam. Great question. Okay, actually, right now, my next goal for Sam is to perform it at performing arts programs, like for performing arts students at specifically community colleges, actually. Like I would love to do like community colleges, junior colleges, 2-year colleges, just kind of local that maybe wouldn't have, the resources that like bigger theaters might have. I mean, I would love to perform at other places too. USC, if you've seen the show, that'd be funny. But I would love to perform Sam in places where there are young people or students who are starting out or who are figuring out what they want to do and kind of showing them what's possible through my show. Like, of course, my show is the story of an actor, but it's also the story of a human figuring out who they are and what they want to do. And so I feel like the people that resonate with my show, they've, got big dreams, or they're figuring out what their dreams are, or they're questioning if they even have dreams or what's next for them. Or, I've been in the biz for a while. And so there will be some of my peers who see the show. And, I, of course, took a break from acting for a little while. And so me sharing that part of my story is also helpful for others to hear that, there's not one way to do anything. And there's no timeline for anyone about anything. Like anything is possible, just doing what's best for you. So anyway, yes, that's my next goal, would be performing for performing arts programs, for performing for students. And I mean, really anyone who will have me, like I would love to perform Sam anywhere. It's just very expensive to put it up myself at venues. So I would love to like collaborate with programs and just come and share Sam, honestly, wherever I can. And eventually I would love to film it and put it up somewhere where anyone can see it all over the world. Because I think there's a lot that can be really impactful for a lot of people in this show. Both from the fact that I did the show, and then what what story the show tells. There we go. So yes, those are next goals. Thank you, Hein, for asking. And then, okay, you're going to do your own solo show. Oh, I'm so excited for you. You have an improv sketch comedy background. Any tips for doing your own solo show in SF? Okay. The first thing I would say is like tapping into why you're wanting to do the show. For me, when I made Sam, my number one reason I wanted to do it was to express myself to my community. That was my like my show goal, as they say. And so in making decisions about what the show was and what the story I was telling was and all of that, it came from that like number one, it came from the want to express myself to my community. So for example, the show is a solo show. So I wanted to see if I could perform alone on a stage. So that's why I decided it was a solo show. I wanted to show people in my community that I did comedy, that I did improv, that I can sing. So I wanted to showcase those skills. So that's why I made the show kind of a hybrid musical where it has stand-up elements, it has improv elements. I really wanted to show people that I could do all these different things. And I honestly wanted to show myself. I was like, can I even do this? Like doing improv in a solo show is like kind of unheard of. Like improv is famously like a group sport, if you will. But the way that I wrote the show, you know, it all felt very natural and conducive to the story. So that's how I decided what the medium was. And then the actual story, I mean, you know, people, when they see the show, sometimes they're surprised that it's just about my journey of being an actor. A lot of people who do solo shows, they're about maybe their whole life. So they talk about childhood, they talk about dating, they talk about, you know, their family, their, you know, career, like kind of anything. But for me, so much of my life has been wrapped up in my identity of my career. So it was actually very important for me to literally convey that through doing a show called Sam. It could have been called Sam Goes to Hollywood, but it's not. It's just Sam, because literally, like, that has always been the biggest part of me, has been being an actor and like being funny or being a hard worker or being so passionate. And so I was like, this is the story of Sam, and kind of how I like not broke free from that, but like kind of the aftermath of the story of Sam is like how I've now found a balance in my life of like, I'm not just an actor, I'm not just a creative, I'm so many things. And so honestly, this show kind of helped me process that, if I'm being honest. Like I was able to process a lot of the actor trauma, which is a real thing. I've talked about this with a lot of actors, you know, the audition trauma that we've gone through. So this kind of also gave a voice to that. So it helped inform like, you know, the very specific scenes and characters and songs that I put in the show. They're all very specific moments that were very potent for me that happened in my career that I felt I really wanted to represent in the show. So I found a way to make it into a silly song. So that's how I went about writing those different aspects. I'm trying to think what else. Something I'll say also for doing a solo show is you're more capable than you think. Well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'll say I'm more capable than I thought I was when I first did the show, because I actually hired a director when I first started writing Sam way back in the beginning of 2024. And I was still kind of forming what the show was for Fringe. This was like January of 2024, and Fringe was happening in June. So I had about 6 months to put the show together. Didn't really end up writing the whole thing until like May, though. Hashtag ADHD. But I did hire a director during that time. And working with the director was because I wanted that two minds are better than one feel. And I wanted someone to help me with my blind spots. And I wanted someone to help collaborate and like stretch me and like expand and excavate, you know, only the best for the show. And great person, so grateful that I tried out having a director, but at the end of the day, I realized that the show that I was wanting to do and the story that I was wanting to convey was going to be better told if I also directed the show. And like, if I also like, I mean, really what it was about was like, I was fine with taking risks and falling completely on my face, I think is what it kind of came down to. Because of course, you know, having a director, they want the show to look good and feel good. I think I was willing to take a lot of risks with the show that meant that we didn't know what was going to happen. Like the show literally, I mean, if you've seen the show, there's a lot of tech in the show. So like there are literally so many things that could have gone wrong during my performances of the show and in my writing and in my acting and like everything. And so at the end of the day, it made more sense for me to continue to develop and, you know, create the show on my own, because I was willing to kind of stick my own neck out and take a lot of big risks. And, you know, again, I was doing the show at Fringe, so it felt kind of, you know, low stakes in the sense of it's a great place to try things out. So I was like, well, let me just try doing this on my own and like exploring my own, you know, like creative journey with this. And ironically, the story of Sam ended up being like the same as the story of the journey of making Sam. Like I was going through the same journey Sam was in the story of questioning myself and telling people and people telling me that I was crazy for how I was wanting to perform the show or produce the show. Like there were so many voices. If you've seen the show, there's a lot of voices in the show that all had so much to say about everything. So at the end of the day, like I'm so glad that I just trusted myself. And that's why I'm sharing this, Hein, because like I trusted myself and what I, you know, wanted to do with the show versus trying to tone it down to be more, you know, digestible or, you know, not doing so much text so that it's easier to perform or, you know, things like that. But I'm a very ambitious person and I'm a very, you know, like creative person and I'm a little out of the box. And so trusting my own instincts like ended up creating an award-winning sold out show that went on a national tour. So I just want to like just reiterate the whole point of that story is in making your own solo show, like, you know your story better than anybody else. And like, there are going to be people who can help you. Like, you know, if you have close friends or family where you're like, you know, I'm like wanting to explore this thing of my life, but like, I feel like, you know, I'm going to look a certain way. And they'll say, no, you're not going to look a certain way. Just share your story. Like having supporters and cheerleaders or people you can bounce ideas off of who you trust and are ultimately just wanting you to do your best work, meaning what is going to be the most fulfilling for you. Like that's when you can get other people involved. So that was my experience as far as having like kind of collaborators, like trying out collaborators and then ultimately deciding that, you know, I'm also a like person with like a director like mindset. And I think a lot of performers, I think we all have that like too. Like, so just you know more than you think you do. So do all that you can in making this show first. And then you can like, you know, if you want to expand and like start bringing on team members, then you can do that. So yes, how you say you were all in. I felt it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Hein. Oh, I'm so happy. Please keep me updated. Follow me on Instagram or shoot me a message or email. I would love to hear more about your show and like when it's happening, and maybe I'll see you in SF. That would be such a blast. And I love that you have improv, sketch, comedy background. So you've already you know what it's like to write material, to rehearse material, to be alive and in the moment, you know. So really just trust your instincts and your background and what you already know and take it from there. So perfect. Yes. Email me. Yay. Okay. Thank you, Hein. That was such amazing questions. Okay. What time is it? Okay. It's in 45 minutes. I was thinking of going for about an hour. So we'll see where we go. But okay. Who do we got? Okay. Kiva, which show did you enjoy the most? Okay. So the performance that I enjoyed the most for Sam, they were all for, I enjoyed each of them for different reasons. Like I think being in New York was so beautiful because I was with so many of my community members and so many of my friends, like since childhood. Like I had my first ever like bestie from kindergarten, like in New York, like at the show. So that was really, really exciting and really magical being in New York and seeing my people. So that aspect of it was really, really like incredible. Chicago, I enjoyed because it was so unexpectedly supportive. Like just the fact that everyone in Chicago loved the show so much. I was really not expecting that. That was so, so beautiful. And also just like in general, the vibes in Chicago, like I know I was in the Midwest. I had never been there before, but it really was like everyone's like Midwest nice. I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. Like everyone was so nice. Like felt so alone, and I felt like it was just so vulnerable, me being there. So like having so many like kind people being so supportive of me who I'd never met before was just so beautiful. And then San Francisco, though, I think that might be my top show. And I mentioned earlier about like the like venue aspect, where because it was such a small venue, like, and it just got to be so intimate and so playful, that might have been like my favorite performance, like because of that aspect. I feel like if in New York we had that smaller venue, that smaller theater, and we could be closer, and I kind of set the tone more for play, we probably would have had like a little bit more of like a like silly kind of version of the show, which I just like being silly. Like I like having fun like that. So, and then same with Chicago, like it was a very long stage in Chicago. So I really had to like, I was like leaping across the stage to like make things more, dynamic. So I'm not just like standing like center stage the whole time. So I definitely like made it work for sure. And all of the performances I'm so like grateful for and happy for, because I learned so much. Oh, I will say though, I feel like my answer is like, they were all my favorite. The LA shows. So I live in LA, so I haven't been speaking on LA as part of the SAM tour, but I think at the end of the day, the LA shows were probably the most cohesive for the SAM experience, because I took all of the things I learned from New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and put them in the LA show. So it kind of was the most tight and polished, and the energy was just like insane. Like I so get it now with like musicians and comedians who tour, like when they talk about being in their hometown, it totally is a vibe where it's like, you're comfortable, you're not, like performing out of a suitcase. Like I was literally having to perform out of a suitcase on the SAM tour, and like carry around my little tea bags and my little lozenges and all of that. So like the LA show having kind of, all of the elements and be able to put them into that show was pretty great. And I did think about that, where I'm like, I feel like I kind of did things a little bit backwards. Like usually you workshop your show and then you take it on tour, but I essentially was kind of using the tour as a workshop. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Like there are things that you can't control in life, and you got to just ride the wave. And I'm so grateful and proud of myself for taking the leap and doing the tour. And I have so many friends in, New York especially, but also San Francisco. My sibling lives in Portland, so they were able to come down and like see the San Francisco show, which I'm really grateful for. So there were a lot of people in my life who had never seen the show before. So the fact that they were able to see it and experience it was such a beautiful thing. So I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you. And thank you, Kiva. Oh my gosh, I love all of this. Yes, you're in New York. That's right. Honestly, I would love to come back to New York and do the show again. Like now that it's tight, now that I know that, we need like a smaller venue and just like intimate venue, and I can kind of set the stage more for like the tone of the show, I would love to perform there again. Because that's something too, is every city I only performed one performance, except for LA I did 2 performances. But one performance, it's not a lot. Like that's technically like a dress rehearsal. I mean, it wasn't. We did our tech rehearsals and everything beforehand, but it definitely, like it takes a second to like get the show in your body when you're in a brand new venue and there's a brand new tech person running the tech for your show. So that element, though, I will say it did keep the show very alive, which I do like, because it was like, what's gonna happen? Let's find out. And I feel like it did stretch me as a performer, because I genuinely was doing a lot of things for the first time. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I was doing new songs, new sequences in these new cities. Like every show was completely different. So that's showbiz, baby. That's being alive. Thank you, Kiva, for all these comments. Yes, so glad that I taped them all. Like, oh my gosh, I just put a clown. Hold on. Sorry, YouTube. Hold on a second. On Instagram, I just put a clown face on myself. Okay, I just took it off. Okay, we're good. That was so funny. So yes, okay, let's see. I have a couple other questions that were pre-submitted, but welcome everyone who's just joined. If you're on YouTube or on Instagram, please like say where you're from, like let me know if you have any questions, or if you saw Sam, or if you want to see the show in your city. There's a city I should bring Sam next. I was talking earlier about how this is probably not the end of Sam. I think there is maybe more to be had with the show now that I've workshopped it and toured it and everything, and I know kind of what the best version is, and I'm excited to do more. So we'll see. Okay, let's see. Someone asked about references and Easter eggs in my projects. Okay, so funny that this person has asked that. If you've seen the show, or if you haven't seen the show, there is a lot of parody in my show, and it's been really fun, like seeing kind of what my purest form of expression is through Sam, because it's kind of similar to SNL. Like, is something I realized a little bit ago, was like, I love making like not pop culture references, but like showbiz, like entertainment industry references. So like some of my scenes, you wouldn't even know it, but they start off with like lines from movies. Like there's a line from La La Land where, if you've seen the show, the jazz scene, the opening line is from La La Land. And you wouldn't necessarily know that if you like don't have the La La Land script like on lock in your brain. Or like the opening song of the show, of course, just a small town girl living in this crazy world. So, of course, inspired by Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, famous band Journey, just a small town girl living in a lonely world. That was, of course, taken from that song. And it's playing on the tropes of all of the, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids coming to Hollywood or New York City or whatever the big city is to make their dreams come true. So that's, of course, one. Otherwise, like, I mean, throughout the show, I would have to take you guys. Like, I think once I have a filmed version of the show and I put it up for you guys to see, then I can kind of do, I did this with Trying on YouTube, where I did a little like frame by frame, like scene by scene breakdown of the film, of all of the kind of lore and behind the scenes like stuff. So I'll probably end up doing that with Sam. I've got some ideas actually about like how I can share like what the like process of Sam was. I'm not gonna say what they are because I don't want to put things. I do a lot where I put things out and then like the next day I'm like, actually I'm gonna do something different. But I do have some ideas of sharing like the whole journey of making Sam, because I did vlog in all of the cities, like literally every city. So all the behind the scenes is there, so I can really like do the breakdown, like play by play of everything. So anyway, in the show, there's so many, like I'm a total theater nerd. So there's a ton of theater Easter eggs. I'm a, like obviously movie lover and Hollywood lover. There's a lot of like LA jokes in there. A lot of, there's Valley jokes and Valley lore. I will say, I think LA and San Francisco got, the most of the LA lore, and Chicago and New York City, they actually did surprisingly got a lot more of the LA and Valley lore than I was expecting. Like there were a lot of people before the tour who were like, how are these jokes gonna land like in the Midwest? I'm like, well, like I'm in the Midwest, but I'm in Chicago. Like, so everyone in Chicago, like, they're in the biz. Like it's just a little bit different because they're not living in Los Angeles. But I even had someone in Chicago who was like, oh, you're an actor who took improv classes at UCB. That's so LA actor of you. And I was like, what? Like, that's such a specific thing, like, to know about. So it made me realize, like, oh, we're all closer than maybe we let on or we think or whatever. We're all humans having this human experience together, I guess is the point. Oh, hi. I melt when you sing. Oh my gosh, thank you. I know sometimes like I forget that like I'm a singer. Like like I grew up doing musical theater. But like I was told growing up that I was a bad singer. Like I was told growing up that I was a good actor and I was so funny. So I'm so funny and I'm a great actor. So I've always felt very confident in those skills. But I was told it as a child and in high school that I was not a good singer. And so the first thing that I did when I graduated high school was I started voice lessons, like, and I did coaching, and I really have worked so adamantly on my voice because I've been so self-conscious for it for so long. And like, I think I talked about this at one of the Q&As, I think in LA, but like, I literally didn't start doing karaoke until a couple of years ago. Like, because I was so scared of being perceived, period, probably, but also like, there's this expectation of like, I'm a professional musical theater performer, so I should be a great singer. And so doing that like for fun at karaoke was just like not the vibe. So I literally only started doing karaoke once I stopped working. Like I took a 2-year break in 2022 after I made Trying, and right before I made Sam in 2024, I took a 2-year break, literally a full 2 years. And that was when I tried stand-up comedy just for fun. I started singing at karaoke just for fun. I took a comedy acting class, but just for fun. And that's honestly when like so many things like inside of me like opened up. Like I feel like that's how I was able to do Sam, because like I had explored these things like in like a fun, open way and taken the pressure off of having to be perfect or having to book a job or whatever. And so now I'm at a place where I can sing for fun or I can perform for fun, and it doesn't have to be so serious. I think that's why Sam has honestly been as successful as it is, because if I was worried about Sam being perfect, the show would not happen. Like if you've seen any performance of Sam, something has gone wrong or something has happened or something, you know, I forgot some line or so, you know, I mean, no, but that's not true. I'm not forgetting lines. Like I'm a professional, but you know, like just being loose, being alive, being present, and like not being hard on myself or stressed. Like I feel like that's what's made like the journey of Sam like what it is like, and like the journey too, but also the performing of Sam, like why the shows are so like fun for me is because I'm allowing myself to be present and like relish in the play of it all. Because even as a kid, honestly, you guys, I've been so serious for so much of my life. Even though I've always been like a funny person and like a comedian person, like I've always taken like my work and like life very, very seriously. So doing a show like Sam has totally like helped open me up, because it's like, I'm not doing this to be a serious actor. I'm doing this to express. I'm doing this to inspire. I'm doing this to play. Like, and that's a completely different energy to come at doing something like this from. So just gonna give myself props for that, because it's been a long journey. So yes. Okay. Kiva has one more question. Okay, this might be our last question. I know we're coming up on an hour here, but let's see. How do you remember lines with ADHD? Oh my God. Okay. So Kiva in New York just asked, how do I memorize lines as a person with ADHD? Literally doing a solo show also where I don't have a scene partner, technically I have a scene partner in the show, but it's voiceovers, it's vocal cues. So like, rehearsing my lines for the show was honestly so hard, and there are still moments of my show that I don't have word perfect still, and I'm like, girl, like I'm talking about using lines from movies, some of those are still not word perfect. I'm like, what are you doing? But it feels so much, memorizing feels so much like work. It's very difficult for me. So I think what has helped me is For Sam specifically, it works out because I'm playing myself. So the dialogue comes very naturally to me because they're words that I have said or would say. However, in normal life, I think the biggest thing has been like just buckling down and sitting down. And like I used note cards for a long time. Like that was my preferred mode of memorization, was using note cards and writing like my line on one side and then the cue line on the other side. So the cue line I would read and it's, hello, Sam, how are you? And then the line, my response is on the back. So then when I flip it, then I cannot know if I got the line right or not. So that's how I would do like my normal lines when I'm playing like a character with a, script that I didn't write, like in a normal, produced production. So I would do that. And then like also using voice memos. Before I have it yet, I'll record all of the voices. So I'll do my lines as my normal voice and I'll do the other character's voice. It's like a high-pitched voice. I'm like, hi, Samantha, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Great. Good to hear that. Thanks so much. And I'll listen to the voice memos and it helps if I'm doing both at the same time. But I am a more visual person. So I actually, when I think of my lines, I think of the actual words in the script, like in my script. So I visually think of like literally them on the page 8, the second paragraph, starting with that line. Like that's what I'll think. So I might have a little bit of a photographic memory now that I think about that, but I can't see like specifics or be like reading from it in my mind. This is so random. I've never talked about this before. But having both the auditory and the visual is helpful. And then buddy working, AKA co-working, AKA body doubling is so helpful. So if you schedule a time with someone else to actually sit down and do it, it'll get done faster, in my opinion. Like living alone, it's been so hard. I've been living alone for many years now. Not many years, a couple of years now. And like, it's been the hardest to get kind of that admin stuff done because I'm all alone and I want to do literally anything else that's more fun. Kiva, you deserve an Oscar with all that invisible labor. Oh my God. Yeah. Honestly, that's kind of why I'm thinking of making a bigger project that kind of showcases all the work that went into the SAM tour, because it might be helpful for me to see all of that. And like, know like, wow, I really did that. Cause it was an insane journey of putting it all together. Like I did this is a good note to end on. But yeah, I did self-produce and I self-directed and I wrote the show and I did the marketing myself. And I had a pianist record the piano tracks that I sing to, but otherwise I did all the voiceovers and everything. And that's just what made sense for me. It's not going to make sense for everybody. Like it really was so much work. Like it was a full-time job the entire time I worked on it, which was a little bit over a year and a half now. But I'm so grateful for this experience because it's made me realize what I am capable of. And I think we all can like including myself, can like take a tip, meaning like take the leap, try the thing, see what you're capable of. Like try, and no one has to know too. Like if it's scary or if it feels embarrassing or you're shy or like anything, like just do it for you and like see what's possible. Maybe say some lines out loud to yourself in the mirror, like, or film yourself or like something like, and that doesn't have to be just for making a solo show, but for anything in life. I personally learn by doing, and I have enough kind of skills in this area that I was able to take a big leap and just trust that the net would appear with this tour, which it did. But we all have our own kind of special things that make us, like that make us tick, that, that get us excited, that like are the different ways that our brains work. So the things that we want to put our time and energy into, like it's different for all of us. So like, honestly, like tapping into like who you are, how you work, like that's going to be the best way to figure out like what next steps are for you or what you want to put your energy into or all that. So I'm an Enneagram type 3, which is the achiever, and I'm a manifesting generator as my human design, as well as a Leo. And so it could be argued that self-producing a solo show about myself like makes sense for kind of these different traits that I have. And I have ADHD. So like, doing things like performing live is going to be very stimulating for me versus like just writing alone in my apartment. Like that kind of vibe, like that was really tough for me. So finding things that work for me that I want to do, just making things easier for yourself, but also like pushing yourself and expanding yourself to see what's possible. So, okay, that's about an hour. So I'm going to wrap this up. But you guys, thank you so much for being here. This is my first time doing a YouTube live and an Instagram live like this. I love sharing about my experiences because I do feel that like that's part of my soul journey is like, like inspiring by showing what's possible. And I love sharing my experiences. Like, so thank you, like everyone here on YouTube and on Instagram who's asking questions and who, you're doing your own solo shows, or you're just curious about it all, or you came and saw the show, or you're new to the Sam fam, you've been a part of the Sam fam. Just thank you all for being here. This kind of feels like it's like the beginning of this like journey of connecting in this way. So thank you so much, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna log off, but if you don't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sam Labreck, subscribe to me on YouTube at official Sam Labreck. My website is www.samlabreck.com. My email is on there. Perfect. Hein, can't wait. Definitely like email me updates. And if you have questions, I'll probably like kind of stack them like I did for this Q&A, and then I'll maybe use them for the next Q&A if I want to do another one later. So alrighty, gang, I'm out of here, but thank you so much. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. Leave any comments or anything about what you think or what you're working on. We're a beautiful Sam fam here, so just thank you all for being a part of it. So Kiva, you got this. Yes, Virgo rising. I never miss, baby. That's right. And hi, Liz. Thank you for joining. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'll see you on the next one. And thank you again for being here. Sam fam. Oh, and this is Emmett. Emmett's saying hi. He was being a very good boy this whole time. All right, guys. Talk soon. Bye.